Welcome, everybody. This is Dr. Zoo on Thursday afternoon, 25th of June, 2026, episode 84. 84 times we've been together. How good is that? Mondays at 4 o'clock, Thursdays at 4 o'clock. Just ticking over 4:01, everybody. Welcome on board. Very, very interesting times we are living in, as we say per usual. But Dr. Zoo is here for you. Thank you, loud and clear. Awesome. Relaxed newbie. That's all I need to know. As long as there's one person listening, that's the most important thing. One person. And the rest can follow. Like sheep, can follow to listen as well. Now, sunny WA. Well, sunny over there. That is magnificent. Magnificent. Now, it's been a busy week for Dr. Zoo. Busy week. Lots of things happening all over the place. Interesting person. That's interesting questions you've got. And the answers to 1 is no. Answer to 2 is yes. Answer to 3, still pushing ahead. So that's the answers to the updates there. The questions were, any updates on AUSTRAC, Zutopia testing and Zucoin's marketing? No, we have nothing through on AUSTRAC, people. We are waiting patiently. Had quite a few people ringing in on all sorts of funny things over the last few days since I had your listening ear skills on Monday. But yes, nothing new to report there. Zutopia testing's been going absolutely phenomenal. Actually, there's been some more tweaks and things that have been doing, mainly visuals, mainly just making it even more simpler for a lot of the things. I learned something the other day. I had a very, very solid, rock solid Zucoin holder, and let me say, he actually educated Dr. Zoo on one of the features that was in the settings button of Zutopia. I should have had a look at that before, but certainly there it was. Because it connects signature test-wise to the Zucoin wallet, it allowed or not allowed, it was already put in, the team had put in the actual wallet address from the original Zucoin wallet, which was fantastic. So you can access, obviously, if you've linked those wallets between a Zucoin wallet and a Zutopia wallet, which you can play around with all the way through up until the point of the functionality of actual live transactions, because we don't want any live transactions at this stage, only test ones until we get word back from AUSTRAC. But you can access your wallet addresses in the Zutopia through that account setting, or you can access it in the normal, press the button at the bottom of the Zucoin wallet, which simply says receive. Receive means you're going to distribute out your wallet address on that front there. Now, a little bit of housekeeping, people, just so you're aware, we always try and work our way through the emails and some of the things, and look, I don't know. Sometimes you just got to highlight some of these things. We don't talk about the full name of the people involved, but we do get some crackerjack emails and funny things. We have a joke about it. We have a bit of our get together with the team and the dev and the support, and great man Robert, of course, and he is really ploughing through some great stuff. Great stuff as the world around us falls down in bits and pieces all over the place, and we send out a cheerio. We hope that our friends in Venezuela are okay. We have clients there, and that earthquake, the double whammy that's hit, is nothing short but of mind-blowing, actually, and we just wish them well. There's a fairly sizable death tally there from what we understand, and we do have people there in Caracas that it's you just never know, do you? You wake up one morning and then your whole life changes as a result of nature's powerful forces that are hidden out and about. And I think there was another corresponding one that touched up a bit in Japan as well. So who knows where all this leads to and where it ends, but certainly a lot of support for them out there. So let's just see how that goes as to what will progress over the next many weeks with those people there that have no housing and no nothing, while nature destroys that housing there, and we've got the force of nature here with Albo and Jimbo. For those around the world that like listening in about our political scene here in Australia, we don't need nature. We just have those two boys to destroy housing, and they do it single-handedly. They don't need any nature to do that as well. Now, in the terms of the housekeeping, we just want to make this point. Now, this is sort of half serious. Some people don't appreciate some of the dark humour that Dr. Zoo has. So you can read whichever way you want into it, because Dr. Zoo does like to be, there's a bit of satire involved. And just don't travel too far to the left, people. Don't travel down that road. The left side of the road's not a good part of the road. Just sort of middle of the road, a bit more to the right a little bit, and you'll find that there's a lot of good things out there in the world, and we're in box seat for our technology, as you can do. So what I'm going to do is just a bit of housekeeping. We got an email which I want to flag, because it's the sort of stuff that we have to quite rightly respond to, and some of the stuff we respond to does have a bit of dark humour in the responses, but we're conscious of that, at any point in time when you're dealing on global scale with the type of products that we have, and having had our, ASIC glance over it many, many years ago, and of course we've got to be very conscious of the firepower of the system in terms of AUSTRAC and other regulators, and particularly what's going on in Europe and America, and it's a day-by-day scenario. We are conscious of the email trails that we have, and we monitor and log things, and we make sure it's there in the system, because if it ever get a knock on the door and it gets raided and picked up, well, lo and behold, we have a answer to all of these things about where people sit and what they don't do. Now, the first one is, we sent out a note the other day that we've got people that, you've had more than enough notices over the last many years. In fact, there's a complete audit trail log of this, of either people that have bought coins or were graciously given Zucoins as a result of involvement with Dr. Zoo in the past through a number of entities. One of those was FT8, which is the old Easy Bonds UK, and that was where the old board back then, they were great mates, Sean McShane and Tony Liston and Phil Pryor. They decided they could invent the world themselves and not rely on Dr. Zoo, and unilaterally terminated the original contracts, which relate to a lot of the stuff that's now in play, particularly even with the AUSTRAC, for where we are today, this very day, the millions that were spent in terms of the compliance and back-end systems that we, as a Zucoin community, will take advantage of. Now, as I recall, in fact, it always sticks with me, this date, for some reason. It was April 24, 2018, that some years after they took control of Easy Bonds UK, thinking that they could really kick some butt and not worry about the long-term road, which is what people have problems with, long-term roads, that company went into liquidation, and was directly as a result of that 3-member board and the way in which they thought they could go about things. Didn't want to have any sympathy or support for the people that were supporting that entity, particularly the warrant holders at the time. And Dr. Zoo pushed out a very big chunk of Zoo coins to give some opportunity upside to those people. Now, you can't, the old saying, you take that horse to water and you can't make it drink, is unbelievable. So after many, many emails, reminders, documents and things in the emails to fill out and form, if you don't collect your freebie during that journey, you don't expect to get the coins for it. So those that are listening that know, who are in the old FT8, the notifications went out. You haven't collected some of those coins. There's not a lot, but there's they could be very valuable down the road. Dr. Zoo has told you before 1,000,000 times, 10 Zoo coins could make the difference, make the huge difference. Even though we're seeing, Dr. Zoo talks about 20% of the value of Bitcoin. That's taken a bit of a whack the last week. I think she just keeps nudging just below 60,000, might be just on 60,000 again now. Let's just have a little quick squiz at that, because we want real information. We don't want 61,565. So it's gone back up again, but it did go under 60,000. So Michael Saylor would be swimming around in that pond without his floaties on, and certainly the miners will be desperately looking for ways to make money, because they're not going to be processing Bitcoin transactions when it costs between 78 and 88,000 US dollars per Bitcoin mined, and you're underwater. Now, we talk about FT8 people. You haven't signed off. Peter Allen, our great man in support, gets inundated with literally thousands and thousands of emails. You'd be surprised. One day we might put a book out on some of these emails. And if you haven't collected it, you won't get them. Those offers expired. That's it, dead in the water. So, Gonski, not sure what other words we can use, but that is bad luck. Now, the only consolation prize will be that if you've missed out because of your own inability to respond to things, if you don't take action in this world of your sovereign rights to stuff, and that's your own destiny. Remember, we have a big family investment from the Barassi family. For those who don't know, Ron Barassi, one of the greatest players ever and coaches in Australian Football League history. Well, then if you don't make it that if it's meant to be, it's up to me, think about that saying, then you lose. And you could lose big time because Dr. Zoo hasn't flinched from the excitement that's been happening behind the scenes, where we're heading. Others are falling, dropping off the cliffs around the world as our competitors on all fronts. And I'm talking not just the crypto, I'm talking where we're going with Zoo tokens and what we're doing with ZooCaz and what we're doing with merchants and things, advertising sector, etc., etc. It is pretty powerful stuff because we have delivered the most extraordinary scalable rails. We call them the rails, but that's the split chain that allows trillions of transactions, hundreds of thousands of transactions, like you wouldn't believe. And let me say, as a result of that, it is an extraordinarily wonderful time for all of us Zucoin family people that know what they're doing and have followed the procedures and the advice that we've given. Now, in this instance, they're gone. They're gone. Now, at $1,000 a coin, Dr. Zoo will be in that jet, no question. And as a result of that, you haven't got your coin because you didn't bother. That's it. You're done and dusted. Now, we may take you on tour and showcase you as a person as to how the craziness of this world works. Now, whether you didn't believe or you don't want to believe or whatever, or we've all got problems. You know, Dr. Zoo was supposed to be around a couple of years ago. He was missing in action, but bounced back. And here we are. We're pushing harder than ever to deliver the outcomes, especially all the good stuff that Dr. Zoo can play with as a result of tokenisation. And it's unbelievable. In fact, just as here's the first tangent, people. First tangent. We love that word. Tangent. Used to do 3-unit maths. Tangents were very important for those that don't know that. But yes, 3-unit maths. Very exciting times in Dr. Zoo's life. He currently uses that for a lot of the mathematical scenarios that he works with Robert, who is a genius extraordinaire, particularly when it comes to the way in which he's investigating and working through quantum computing and everything else he's built. But the little tangent here is that when you think about the opportunities in life and the way these things happen, and how strong, and even though, yes, Dr. Zoo spent lots and lots of money on legals and things, even this morning, and again, this is the tangent for those that don't like tangents, but even this morning, we checked out on the other day, I think it was the 17th, the judgment was handed down in the High Court of the case of ASIC taking on Block Earner, which is a Web3 company. It's gone all the way to the High Court, and it was a very interesting case to do with the definitions of financial products and financial services and positions under the Act for crypto, particularly the products that Block Earner had been pushing out. And Block Earner lost the case. However, when you go through the merits of it and the factual findings and what the High Court decided upon, it's an absolute bottler for Zucoins, because we certainly monitor all of these legal effects and changes so that we are sitting sweet with the design of what we built over the journey of these years and don't want to get caught up in being called a financial product for what we have created, particularly as we lead into the merchant scenario and how that, has ramifications around the world with our other legal teams in Europe, South America, and not New York, but certainly United States of America. And you can relax because this High Court decision certainly gave some great insights into the way the construction and definitions under the Corporations Act, which doesn't fall foul for us. So that's good news. Now we monitor that, and that's important because that's part and parcel of the hard work that has been put into ticking the boxes for legals, and again the same scenario for AUSTRAC. Feeling pretty good about that actually. I think it's going to have some big ramifications, the AUSTRAC scenario, whichever way it goes. We're certainly doing the hard work, and we learned a lot having spent the millions of dollars in the Easy Bond days on the compliance programs that we'll be able to take advantage of for all of our benefit, which is why I started with the disappointment of people not responding to their emails with the FT8 scenario. You had a pocket full of free coins designated to at least put you in front of the monies that went into the company in United Kingdom, which is on record as to the decimation of that as it happened. And here we are still standing. We are still standing, people, in a big way with far greater capacity to make some extraordinary outcomes for all of us. But there you go. What can Dr. Zoo do about that? Nothing. You've lost it. That's it. Gone. Gonski. Which brings me to the second email, people. I mean, I don't know what goes through some people's brains sometimes. But look, let's just say, for argument's sake, this is an email. I'll make up a name. Let's call him Adrian. Adrian, for argument's sake. Now, the penny might drop. Some of you might know Adrian, may or may not. This person, and this is the sort of stuff we get. Now, you're wondering why I'm flagging this, because you've got to use some common sense. I mean, we're not running a therapy show here. Well, I'd like to. Sometimes I feel like, Dr. Crane. Dr. Crane on his show and in Fraser, right? There you go. Fraser Crane is similar to Dr. Zoo. We can try and help out people and dig deep into your personal issues and problems. And let me tell you, there was quite a few this week. It was extraordinary. And this is an example of another one. Now, Adrian, you can garner the person we're dealing with has put a very sizable chunk of bought a very sizable chunk of Zucoins many years ago, and he's sort of up and down like a roller coaster, right? He very obviously we all want to be rich. That's a great thing. We've seen and heard the movie. We've heard Gordon Gekko. We've talked about how good greed is and all the rest of it. And everybody has their motivation for their own little world pockets of how they want to handle if they come into money. Some might be as humble as just wanting to, like Dr. Zoo, with a 2-bedroom apartment and doesn't have to worry about the lawn, doesn't have to worry about all of the cleaning and stuff that comes with it. And it's very, very cozy indeedy. So the dream of owning a Point Piper mansion worth 100 million is on zero list for Dr. Zoo. Zero. The maintenance alone puts a fear factor, shiver up his spine. I can tell you now. Tax purposes, that's been main driver for the big rich people, but it'll be just enough to cover the cost of the G800. But we've got some marketing ideas that, advertising and marketing is one of the things that Dr. Zoo really loves to play with. Watched a very lengthy doco on the Mars family there the other night. That's your Mars bars. Dr. Zoo loves Mars bars, loves M&Ms. Didn't realise what the M&M stood for, actually. Stands for Mars and Murray. Interesting. Won't talk about that story now, but there's a private company that spends $4.4 billion a year on advertising, and they have some very interesting techniques that we like to analyse and pick up some of those techniques into what we're going to be doing down the road. That's for another day. Now, this email, up and down. We understand the urgency. We understand the delays that we've had because of the technology, and we get all that, and Dr. Zoo stays focused on the big picture. Now, this person, Adrian, just call him Adrian, interesting character, really interesting. We've had our fair share of, disagreements over the years, and he got tangled up with a few other shitty coins there, and did his money on a few of those, and then sort of tried to circle back to where we're at, and didn't like the Zutopia thing, and we're ticking some big boxes, people. We're not worried about, like Binance is this week. Binance basically has got 4 days to try and drum up a successful application with the European Union, the Commission there, under the new MICA laws. 4 days, hundreds of millions of people be hanging in the wind over there because they got knocked back or withdrew their application from the Greeks. The Greeks decided that's it. They don't like Binance for whatever reason. Obviously, all the old history that Binance had. And they are struggling to get their EU licensing as a crypto exchange. We don't need a license. We don't need any registrations, people, in the EU. Now, we could have done the easy road. We could have said, righto, let's just get the Zutopia up and about in those jurisdictions immediately in Europe, America, South America, Brazil, even the Philippines, which is some tough, hard-ass countries in terms of their laws there. Singapore, Hong Kong, Malaysia. But no, Dr. Zu said no, he's not going to let down one single Australian person because whilst those countries could have gone live, Australian owners of Zucoins would have been shut out. It would have been to the Australian population detriment of being able to trade. Because if we don't go down this road and the hard road that we're doing, which you're all with it, then we wouldn't be registered, and you as Australian citizens, for what that's worth, would be in trouble. They'd be blocked from being able to trade on Zutopia legally. Now, that wouldn't be good. Imagine that. Imagine that. All of our clients over there and around the world, which are building and building, they get the advantage of trading and making big bucks on the Zutopia with the trading of Zucoins and Zutokens. And you guys, being Australians, the original early adopters that took the massive risks from day one, would have been blocked out because you can take easy roads sometimes. Dr. Zu doesn't like the easy road. He told you that before. He's going to build out his lottery, and he's going to build out did another revision on the High Court case the other day, because that was reminded by someone on the show here the other day. And let me say, it's looking fantastic. Just got to lock and load and stick to the rules from Art of War by Sun Tzu. When equally matched, fight. Dr. Zu knows when to sit back and relax and when to bring out the heavy artillery when we're ready. But what does this mean for this particular email from Adrian? Well, we understand his thoughts and feelings and desperation and all the rest of it. And you've got to have a think about it. Even though he's based over there in UK and he wants to get going quickly, and he just can't hold himself back from wanting to share his thought bubbles. Along comes this email. Now, I'll read you the first bit because it's important you guys understand what the support desk here has to deal with and the way we handle it. And the way we like to think that you are in control of your coins, your wallet. You're certainly going to be in a powerful position with Zutopia. There's no risks. It's going to be one of the great instruments where a regulated body, which has got absolute massive licks of money that they're throwing in this KYC AML world, which is AUSTRAC, they're going to crawl all over the system, crawl all over the technology, which is standalone, just like ASIC did, just like we now keep a revision that even despite this High Court case, we can sit back and relax a bit in terms of the way the corporations law is structured. Very happy with that. But we're not going to leave Australians behind. Got a lot of solid people that will be fantastic to see. We've got some really sad stories of people that can come out of their financial mess, health mess, with the opportunities that Zucoins could deliver. Now, everybody's got to have some hope. That's what Dr. Zu wants to keep pressing on people. But then you get this email. Adrian, he says, please remove me from Dr. Zu emails. It's absolutely pointless. If I want to listen to a man sprouting off complete nonsense, I can do that here in the UK listening to our PM. Now, he is a character. I mean, he's probably one of these lovable guys. I mean, we'll have a cuddle. Don't you worry about that. We'll have a cuddle. He's bought a significant sum of coins, and quite rightly. He wants to get going with things. He's probably got enough problems over there, and in the UK, obviously doesn't like the Prime Minister in the UK, Keir Starmer, so he's gone. So Adrian would be very delighted about that. But he just didn't want to listen to Dr. Zu. Now, the email, the official one that went back, bearing in mind we're conscious that these things could, pop up at any stage and might end up on a social media tour or whatever, or end up in a book and can be quite funny, and we'll laugh about it. But the response was this. and I'm going to make the point in a minute. Hi, Adrian. My support team kindly forward to me your email below. As you know, I work tirelessly to please all my Zucoin early adopters equally, and you are no exception. Accordingly, it gives me great pleasure in granting you your ultimate wish by having you removed from all future Dr. Zoo emails. However, as a special treat, I'll also remove you from all future Zucoin, Zutopia, SplitChain, and Zukaz correspondence, as these projects are all interdependent upon Dr. Zoo. I simply don't wish to burden you with such additional nonsense. I trust that this course of action will completely satisfy your humble request and that you will be no longer mentally drained by having to turn Dr. Zoo on and off using your own free will without an email. Speaking of Prime Ministers, I'll simply quote my greatest hero, Winston Churchill, with his closing remark that's relevant to your email. And the quote is, "I refuse to have a battle of wits with an unarmed person." Now, the point of this is that we don't need to be told if you don't want to listen to Dr. Zoo. Dr. Zoo said don't turn Dr. Zoo on. It's not hard. And we've got people listening now. If you're not happy, turn me off. If you don't like your Zoo coins, don't refer to them. No one forces anybody to buy them. No one forced Adrian to buy. He understands the risk. He's been in crypto as well. No one's going to force him to sell. But the Zutopia he didn't like initially is going to be, we know, successful because of the soft launch and what we can do. It achieves the outcomes that doesn't affect people's personal risks and lives. We're trying to minimise those. I mean, even now, what would he do trading if Binance can't sneak through another country in the EU to get its license? Because as of the 1st of July, you are dead in the water. Unless you are licensed or you fall outside of the parameters of the MiCA laws, you are gone. There is no exchange. Now, I mentioned the other day a little twist, a twist to this story. And the twist is this. How ironic would it be that we globally capture? Now, the biggest advantage of working and putting some proposals to Binance is they've got 300 million plus people, and they're all going to do something. What are they going to do with how are they going to sell if you're based in Europe? You think about it. I warned about this some time ago. Now, if they can't trade out, they're stuffed. They can have all the Bitcoin and all the Ethereum in the world. They say that it doesn't affect if their sovereign rights are held by peer-to-peer, but it's so hard to trade peer-to-peer. It's mind-boggling how bad it is in the crypto space just to send crypto value to a fellow peer. Unlike our system, people. We had a trade the other day. Actually, it was Saturday. It was fantastic. Saturday, last week. We had another one yesterday. We were trading because people were pulling over in a car in places that Dr. Zoo's never heard of and transferring coins with instant transferability, two-factor authentication, sender and receiver, locked and loaded, instant transfers, no fees, just absolute pure magic, pure delight to see these people coming on board, downloaded their wallets, they followed the instructions. It's pretty basic. Check your wallet. If you get a message that needs you to bring across a new wallet because you've got the new wallet links, make sure you back up the wallet, you go to the settings, you press the backup, and you push it to where you want to push it. Might be a file, a folder, might be hiding there that you want to put it into iCloud. You could put it on a USB, but put the thing into a backup. If you then delete the wallet and get a new one, you can restore. It's called the restore button. It's beautiful. It's just a beautiful thing. You try that with any other crypto. And as I said, the global vision. Yes, there's an outcome because we can have this massive potential global trading through Zutopia, which generates absolutely potentially hundreds of millions of dollars that can be used to the advantage of more tokenization for merchants, bringing together consumers directly, changing the entirety of how the internet works to a point where it's interesting, isn't it? Mars Corporation, a private company, is funding $4.4 billion in annual advertising to tell you how good their Mars bars are. Now, we know they're good. We know the M&Ms are great. Dr. Zoo would gladly promote any of those products that Mars put out. Snickers. Oh, I mean, that's a regular dietary program. But it was interesting how this formulated itself through times of adversity. The biggest sales were M&Ms were during the war because the chocolate didn't melt. Now, a humble little thing like that. But let me tell you, imagine if we could show Mars, the family. Now, Dr. Zoo many, many years ago had met one of the family. They would never recall who Dr. Zoo is, but we have a place here in Albury Wodonga called Uncle Ben's, which is your pet food line that's owned by the Mars family. And they have spent hundreds of millions of dollars in this region. Fantastic private organisation. And if you've got a job with Uncle Ben's, you're on cloud nine. But let me say this. If they can show them a way that they can give value proposition directly to consumers through something that's never been done before, tokenizing M&Ms. Oh, my goodness. And instead of feeding that money to all of the pariahs out there, the Mark Zuckerbergs and the Instagrams and all that stuff, it goes straight to you as a consumer because you can ping it straight to your phone. You can get them to go out on their hunts, collections. That's just one organisation structurally with advertising. But on the flip side, Dr. Zoo takes these emails in from Adrian, who just doesn't want to listen because he said it's sprouting nonsense. Well, that shows people how contained the level of vision is in the heads of people that can't refocus outside of their little world. He's too focused on Keir Starmer. We know he's a wombat. He's gone. Albo and Jimbo won't be too far away. They can't keep up stealing people's money, stealing their assets. Now look at the changes. Dr. Zoo warned about the Greens. The Greens will pass or have passed this legislation, as far as I understand, in the Senate. And there's no more borrowings in your super on a house that you want to buy. I mean, that is a socialistic control that has been an experiment that's never worked since the day that the Red Army took on the White Army and started communism. We know about communism. Dr. Zoo's heritage comes from Hungary, which was absolutely gobbled up and smashed by the Russians. They love capitalism in Hungary, one of the great capitalistic countries on the planet. And what have we got? Peanuts running around in the West. Look what's happening in New York City. Now, that might be ramblings, Adrian, but it's directly relevant to what's happening in the world that affects Zucoins and Zutokens if you take your brain and expand it. Now, without creating a drain in the email scenario here, Adrian, the solution was twofold. One, don't listen to Dr. Zoo. I don't need to stress about the trolls that Dr. Zoo played with were fantastic. They try and hide themselves. They're anonymous. They can't take the hits. They're little crybabies when you tell them what's going on and confront them. But the irony here is, if you don't like Dr. Zoo, there's a button at the bottom of the email. If everybody has a look at their email, the button at the bottom, what does it say? It says unsubscribe. Now, I don't know whether Dr. Zoo needs to put a little asterisk under that to create a definition of the Oxford dictionary as to what unsubscribe means, but that means piss off. Pretty simple. Alternatively, you can go to the replays of the show. Every show has a replay, and you can pick and choose what part you want to listen to. And as I said on many occasions, the beautiful thing about these shows is that when you do replay them, there's been proof from therapists that Dr. Zoo and his voice is in a position to put you to sleep. How good's that? Double whammy. So there you go. Now that is a simple answer. A simple answer is go out, use your brain, and work your way through. If you're not happy with something, then of course there are alternative options instead of the emails that come through, of which the staff have to address. Well, I address this one because I do like Adrian. He'll be right. He'll come on tour and we'll have one of those cognacs together and laugh about the funny times and the drain that was on his mind at the time as to thinking about what's nonsense and what is nonsense. But look, that's how it is. That's what's nonsense is what's been collapsing around that Dr. Zoo's predicted many, many times. Coins are in trouble because there's no utility. We have utility, people. We have the capacity to explode beyond the value transfer. Now, just quickly, as a little bit of final housekeeping on that point, because I want to talk about and try and create a vision. I've been thinking about, because of this email, I've been thinking about how can you sort of create a visual effect for you people out there to really understand and appreciate. Don't panic about the numbers and the marketing. We've got that in hand, right? It all comes down to what we needed to achieve to make the marketing a lot easier, which has happened. We have not had the level of queries in relation to getting a Zucoin wallet connected to a Zutopia app. That's pretty well died. Very, very happy with that. I mean, someone's mentioned up here about languages, and these are the things that we can swing into gear pretty quick. So as we do more upgrades down the road, certainly multi-languages is on the list, and they're a lot easier these days. It's literally AI into API has been put in play, and it'll convert all of the bits and pieces into the right language. Now, you pretty well do that when you're nearly 99.99% happy with the app, because you don't want to start converting stuff and then you've got to fix it again. And we are at a point where we're very, very happy and solid with the way both the apps are looking and working. Now, there might be some more tweaks down the road, but it's getting far, far superior to anything we could have possibly thought about when we go back in time before we focused on the issues of push notification. So we have our plans. I mean, the plans really, we're tightening up the transactions at the back end with things called long caching. I won't go into that today. It's quite heavy technical, but it's absolutely magnificent when trillions of transactions come into play and you want absolute, as close to perfect certainty on every transaction for both institutions and merchants that are going to accelerate the ability to create their own value propositions with this tokenization. So that is crucial down the road. Doesn't affect when with the Zutopia. As I said, as soon as that AUSTRAC comes through, we press that green button, you'll be off and running. And we will be focusing on our marketing as per the mass marketing. Nothing's changed in terms of what's on the zucoins.com website. You can revisit that. The blitz marketing is perfect. The play in the game has just expanded a little bit because it's come a bit earlier than what Dr. Zoo thought about problems the exchanges are having on a global scale. But we have a window that can solve people that are tangled up with companies like Binance that want an exit strategy and an efficient way of moving their coins, which they can wrap using tokenization. Now, the little bit of housekeeping I wanted to touch before I go into the visual. The visual's important, as I'm going to talk about today, the visual. This is the visual for everybody to get really pumped up and excited. But SpaceX. Now, Dr. Zoo has always been nervous about SpaceX, and look, it may recover. It may go through the roof, but you got to wonder, two little quick things on SpaceX. And we refer to SpaceX because Dr. Zoo cannot get in his head the way in which the retail sector carries on about it. But Dr. Zoo would not want to be in the position of either Satoshi or Elon in terms of the outcomes of what's happened in the last 5 days. Elon, great guy, no doubt about it, created some incredible stuff, but we were always concerned with the fundamentals of the P&L and the balance sheet and raising $80 billion. Raising $80 billion was never enough in the brain of Dr. Zoo for the extent of what he was pushing out in terms of data centers and space and getting to Mars and moving all the climate activists up there to Mars because it's very low level CO2 and it's not very hot this time of year and all the rest of it. But he holds now the record for the greatest collapse from an all-time high share price capitalization in the history of mankind. Now, who would want that accolade? The greatest single collapse on a 5-day trading cycle in the history of mankind of $1 trillion. Now, Albo and Jimbo are doing a pretty good job in Australia. They're collapsing things all the time, but that's as the politicians. What we're talking about here is an individual controlling, conceptually, a new era, both in terms of AI and space and all the rest of it, with the greatest single collapse in price in the history of mankind. 1 trillion. And then, to top it off, it worries Dr. Zoo when they start getting debts to get more money in to cover their massive capital costs, and he raises another 25 billion within a week of raising equity, within a week issuing debt instruments that are so highly priced for another $25 billion in order to create some form of reserves of capital that's got a burn rate beyond belief. Now here we are with our humble little 55 million, and there's no reason, there's no downside. The product's out and about, coins are out and about, wallets are there, technology's there, scalability, the boxes are tick, 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 tick. And what are we doing? We've got the potential of the entire database of the planet with people that own either a phone as an iPhone or an Android that could be a potential customer. And I'd much rather prefer that, people, with the upside and the value proposition than running around trying to work out how to get 3.8 million satellites in space, increase the data capacity when there's only 100,000 that can float around without all them all collapsing back to Earth and hitting each other, or trying to get a queue of people to end up on a 6 to 9 month trip to Mars and digging holes so you can put yourself in case there's a solar flare. Now, this is the perspective that we talk about. Yes, it may be fine that there's a speculation in the price, and we've seen it before, but in the 80s, one of the biggest trigger signs for the collapse was the big guns borrowing big dollars in debt, in addition to the rising share prices. Bond, Homes of Court, you name it. You name it. It was that didn't include the big guns out of the US either. Michael Milken created an industry built on those mirrors and smoke screens. KKR, the list goes on. RJ Nabisco, they were big deals back then, but they all fell off a cliff. So I'm just flagging that because, remember, Dr. Zoo loves Newton's third law. For every action equal opposite reaction. What does it mean? When they go down the toilet, we are ready to take up our positions, because it means companies will be cheaper, asset values will be greater than share prices, tokens will become the main game. That's why Larry keeps talking about, Larry Fink, I'm talking about, people, BlackRock, $31 trillion of potential real world assets out there. And you, all of us, early adopters, we took some risks. Sure, we'll see the price fluctuate when we get going, but don't panic about that. It'll be the smooth trading, because you won't have the problems that are now encountering what's happening with the current crypto exchanges, that the noose is tightening. And I might just, on that note, just remind people that even the great country, the Philippines, we have no ambitions to live there for sure. But let me tell you, there's some great people. We have some great clients in the Philippines. And they're tightening the noose on those exchanges as well. They've been shutting down crypto exchanges in the Philippines across the board, let alone the 1,800 that's now got resold in the EU. Same will happen in the States. So the wait will be worth it, people. It will be worth it, because they don't have the technology to have off-exchange transfer of coins. They don't have the two-factor authentication. They don't have the instant notifications. They don't have SplitChain that can scale and grow, because there's only ever at one point in time a balance and one single transaction per wallet. Think about it. The amount of transactions we did to test with some fantastic new people from around the world in the last few days, Bitcoin would have exploded, wouldn't have coped with it. It's not coping now, because the miners can't cope with the production in terms of validating transactions. Why? Because they're underwater. power, electricity. Single-handedly, that's causing most of the grief if you believe in the CO2 stuff. And here we are, the humble little wallet that you guys hold. Now, I want to tackle for the next 15 odd minutes, and I'm going to have to finish early today, people, because Dr. Zoo's got a lot on his plate, keeping the things bubbling along with a lot of meetings coming up for tonight. But let me just say this. This is the analogy, and I think it's a good one. I think it's a beauty. Dr. Zoo, pre-government, had a very sizable and substantial stamp collection. Now, we all know stamps, postage stamps, the little humble stamp, the $1.10. Now, generally, around the world, the masses don't take much of an interest in the stamp. It's there for a purpose. And let me say, it could be truly said that the humble stamp was humanity's first widely adopted standardized system for transferring value around the world relating to goods and services, letters, packages, you name it. We still do it today. And if you think about the stamp, which is relating to the cost to move that around the world, around to your home, if you send a Christmas card and all the rest of it, it's got to move from A to B. The stamp becomes the symbol of the cost of moving those packages or letters, just like a digital crypto like Zucoins and the fraction of the Zucoin that represents the transfer of value. And it's what you attach to that. In the case of the digital world, we attach data. In the case of the physical world, we attach the letter. Now, you probably wouldn't have a second look at a postage stamp unless you're a collector. And this is where it gets interesting. So you've got the humble, ordinary, everyday $1.10 stamp. And that's all it means to you. You lick the back of it, stick it on the letter, and off she goes, and it all sort of miraculously happens. There's tracking now and all the rest of it. Now, that's the face value. That's the face value in relation to what was produced for 150 odd years in relation to overcoming the problems back in the day of how to reflect acceptance of value in order to move that particular parcel or letter. It's not hard. But think about this. If you open your Zucoin wallet now, right now, and you open it up, what do you see? What's the first thing in your brain you look at? Now, I don't know about you, but generally, you see the top of the screen and you look at the number of coins and, of course, the value. Now, the value is locked in at 205 at the moment because that was the last trade that evolved as a result of the live feed from Zutopia during the soft launch, and that'll change. That'll fluctuate all over the shop once we press the green button again because there'll be live trading and that feed will be reactivated. Now, it might show 50 cents. It might show $2,000. But that'll be the thing you'll look at. You look at the screen and you'll open it up and you'll get excited because you'll say, wow, look at that. I have X number of Zucoins, and that's the current global trading value that you see in your Zucoin wallet. Now, that's the same as a postage stamp. It's exactly the same. You look at a stamp and that's all you see. You just see the cost of the stamp. But it's deeper than that, people. It's deeper. Now, those with an acute eye look at the stamp and actually look at the picture. They consider what is the message that's trying to be sent by that stamp. Now, historically, since 1840, when the first penny black came out in 1840, you mightn't hear about it, you might know about it, but it's a very famous stamp. The penny black in 1840. You think about it, 1840. They're not running around with phones, and they're certainly not running around with airplanes. Didn't have cars, horse and buggy. And here's this person printing a penny black stamp, as its name would suggest, a penny, and representing value that nobody questioned the transferability of the correspondence or the letter once that stamp was put on the front. But those that were smart enough realised there was something wrong with the penny black stamp. Because not only does it tell a visual story, and which every single stamp in the world tells this. If you look at a stamp, there's a story. There is a story behind each stamp. It depicts landmarks, events, innovation, cultures, history, everything today has a story visually in the stamp. Now, there's no reason that if you substitute the stamp with that face value for the very Zucoin you guys keep looking at into a Zu token, which represents a digital version of a product, goods or services. It could be a business. It could be a one-off ticket to go and watch Taylor Swift and sitting next to her on the stage. It could be anything that has some historical value or significance today that relates to intrinsic value far greater than the value of the original face value, which you are looking at right now in your Zucoin wallet, because eventually you're going to have other forms of Zucoins, other asset classes that'll be far greater than the value that's coming out of the Zutopia connection as to the face value. Now, Dr. Zu might be, you'll be able to relate to and correlate that there's $1,000 value because he's now picked up his Gulf Stream and we're all off our trees. The champagne's out. We've got some conventions going. It's all happening because everyone else has gone down the toilet. But our humble little coin at face value showing $1,000 US in the wallet. But there might be a version of that one Zucoin that's attached to a smart contract through a wrap. They call that a wrap. That's a fractionalization ownership of something far greater than the $1,000 you're looking at in your wallet. Now, as an example, Dr. Zu was intrigued. Now, Dr. Zu had a very, very nice, thank you very much, stamp collection, which is part of the damages against the Commonwealth. There's a story to be told because a lot of the coins he had were rare ones, King George, Kangaroo series, you name it. Upside down pictures become valuable. And he's slowly sort of creeping back and buying a few, not many, but because in order to get the damages out of the Commonwealth, it's going to cost them quite a. Dr. Zu doesn't want money on the settlement. He wants his stamps back. And it'll be up to the Commonwealth to find and hunt them down and pay whatever price it is going to take to get those stamps back. Same with his basketball team. Doesn't want the damages, he wants the team. All right, the asset. Now think about this. In recent times, look, there's many an example of how that philosophy works as the analogy. Instead of just looking at a stamp, dig deeper and see the visual behind it, and then look for something that's got some rarity that's attached to the stamp. Now, over the journey, you've got an inverted Jenny 1918 stamp, which is a 24-cent airmail stamp. But if you look at it closer, it's not just a stamp. It's got an upside down plane in it. It's worth a fortune. Now, that's the point about it's not worth 24 cents. It's worth millions because it relates to the ownership of something special. And that's what you're going to create with Zu tokens. That's why we keep going on about. Merchants will create value for you. You will have exclusive tokenization assets in your wallet that are well worth more than the face value of the Zucoin that's trading on Zutopia, because there's additional value that's attached of benefit to you. Now, a lot of these things might need to be obviously pushed through, and we had some people there from London last night. Got some unbelievable ideas on tokenizing stuff that was even way outside of Dr. Zu's mindset, but nevertheless could be extraordinary in the creation of what they're going to create with these Zu tokens, well in excess of any value that happens on the face value. Now, this is a stamp at 24 cents, and it's in the millions. Tokens will be the same. You could have one Zucoin with ownership proof of a house in Sydney worth 10 million, as an example. And that will become a tradable, instant, transferable value proposition that the coin comes with the token, because it's got a smart contract that adds that to it. And suddenly you're not just looking at the face value, you are looking at millions of dollars back ending, because we've got the firepower in the system to handle the scalability and the tokenization because of extraordinarily Roberts 32 decimal fractionalization. You can have $1 million value on a Zucoin and still get a cup of coffee. Think about it. This is why Dr. Zu has a nice chuckle to himself when people like Adrian send in a request that Dr. Zu's sprouting nonsense. Well, if that's nonsense, I'll take that any day than Adrian worrying about getting to Mars. I can assure you, chasing another $25 billion within 5 days of raising 80, because the balance sheet says it's not enough to spit out more satellites when we told you that it took for 60 years, NASA, 1.9 trillion to fly around the moon and drop 3 blokes off. It's not a great track record. But we don't need that firepower and that sort of capital investment when you look at what's happening with Zucoins, because we've put the hard yards in to what you are sitting on, people. You're sitting on an extraordinary, unbelievable digital form that was never envisaged by Satoshi. Never could be contemplated on the scale. I mean, blockchain, the number I saw the other day, they were doing 5.7 transactions per second. Can you imagine that? We got enough hotheads out there that don't want to wait any seconds to pay and get out of a place when they buy something. Now, all of a sudden, like the postage stamp, the humble postage stamp, it's not just the face value we're talking about, it's the journey behind the stamp. It's the story that's being told, because every single digitization of a Zoo token should have a story. Is it a story about the Mars family? Is it a story that tokenizes globally? M&Ms. Will you see a 3-dimensional form of the lollies they're selling? Will there be tens and tens of thousands of products from large-scale merchants that are selling TV sets and washing machines and all sorts of things? Everything will have a story. And then in addition to the story, just like the stamp, when you look at the stamp next time, there is a story there. But you just don't realise it, because all you're thinking is, oh, well, there's $1.10. I'll put it on the envelope and send it. Now, what's a live example of this? Now, Dr. Zu still kept his finger in the pie, thinking about stamps and missing his collection, spending a lot of time and effort since he's been a kid, collecting stamps. And all of a sudden, Dr. Zu read about this volcanic series of stamps that were produced by Australia Post in 2021. In 2021. Now, it didn't cost a lot, but Dr. Zu ran out and rushed out and bought up as many of these collectible stamps as he could humanly possible. You know, the face value, yep, $1.10. It's got 4 in the series. They're a volcanic series of mountains, and he's been up that way before. He's been through that Mount Warning area at Wollumben. Beautiful spot. Got shut down because of some ridiculous dribble about who owns what in the country and all the stuff we're going through, but nevertheless one of the most beautiful parts of planet Earth. And here's this odd-looking mountain on the stamp. Now, it wasn't Dr. Zu that sort of said, well, why is that there? Why are they saying this is Mount Warning when it looks a bit different? So on further investigation, it turns out that it wasn't Mount Warning. That was way, way, way in the background. It turns out this particular stamp, obviously Dr. Zu looking at it because he'd been in that area, it showed a story. There was a story in the stamp, but guess what? It wasn't Mount Warning. It's Doughboy Hill Mountain. They put the wrong mountain on the stamp. Now, I'm not saying that, Dr. Zu's going to get the the G800 jet out of the stamps he bought, but they're tucked away. He picked up, series of 50 sheets and blocks and all sorts of wonderful components that were mint condition stamps. And he can see down the road, might take a little bit of time, but down the road, Dr. Zoo's grandkids, they'll have two choices. They'll look at the stamps, that they'll be wondering what Dr. Zoo and Poppy did with them. And there is this stamp with a massive error on the front for $110 for $1.10, because nobody looks at the intrinsic issues. They just treat it as a stamp to stick on an envelope and send it. Rookie error, people. And it's going to be the same with Zucoins. Can you imagine the picture I'm trying to paint? Don't open your Zucoin wallet and think you're looking at just a number of Zucoins and a value from Zutopia. Wrong. Wrong. Since day dot, since 2019 when we launched Zucaz, it was all about the way we can conquer, bring people on board, create a transfer of value that's easy and simple and no fees and charges that you can easily build on, that you can fire up because you have some coins. You will be able to, even through those that know a bit about AI, will be able to generate new stories for each fraction, new rarity. It might be attached to the very stamps. I mean, this Dr. Zoo could actually turn out and say, okay, there's a legal team that has in a vault the stamps of Mount Warning, which is not on the stamp, could be worth millions per stamp. And guess what? They're attached to a fractionalization of a Zucoin that can move its way around the world 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and be verifiable against the chain with ownership and a contract that says that is sitting with XYZ legal firm in a vault. And it becomes a massive rarity tradable instrument. That is what the SplitChain and Zucoins can deliver. Zutopia, we had to get it right. It's a thrill to think that there's a team of people in government giving free advice, would you believe, and assessing the entire structure at no cost to us, you, me, anybody, as they explore the engine that drives Zucoins from a AML KYC perspective, because they've got a job to do. They want to make sure it's good money. We want to make sure it's good money. We don't want all the dickheads. You can sort your tax problems out. There's always a solution in that regard. If you're not happy, do what some of our staff are doing. They're going to move to New Zealand for 4 years. Go and plonk yourself over there. Beautiful. Trout fishing, sit up in the hills, relax, pay no tax for 4 years, come back, multi-millionaire, and buy everything on the cheap. Because if the markets collapse, we are back on Blue Star. That's a saying out of Wall Street, by the way. But we are back because you will be in box seat. One of the greatest opportunities if there's price declines in assets in terms of houses and real estate, and you are in box seat to buy, you won't worry about the CGT because you buy it so cheap it won't be funny. You sit on it. And there's ways through that. You know what you could do? I've thought about this. You could take some of the multi-millions as a result of this and actually set up a 399-year trust for the benefit of all Australians, where you have the right to live in the asset or the property or whatever you bought, but you've gifted it back to the Australian people in 399 years' time. Won't talk about that today. That's another story, but the Grosvenor family in London did a great job of that. That's why Mayfair and Kensington is owned over these massive leases. They actually don't own the thing and they don't pay the taxes because it's owned technically by the government. Same with Hong Kong. Look at that. The Chinese had a free ride. British government built it up. They didn't sign long enough lease on that one. That went pear-shaped because they had to hand it back. But these are the techniques that can be used because you can create the transferability of asset value using the instantaneous verification system that's built now that we have succeeded with SplitChain and Zucoins. This is what Larry Fink is on about. I can't press this enough. At $31 trillion, that means there's a lot of stamps out there that have got some rare things happening. That means there are a lot of stamps out there with a story. It's unbelievable if you think of the visual between a stamp when you go to the post office next and what is behind that, what it's designed for. It was designed as a utility for delivering and confirming value transfer. That's all it was. It was a solution, which they didn't have digital technology back then to do that. Print a piece of paper, put some gum on the back and stick it on an envelope and send it, because the person will accept the fact you've paid for the pleasure of sending that letter. Since 1840 or even earlier. And then it gets deeper because they have mistakes. They become rare. The stories get better. Each stamp relates to something that's beyond what you could even imagine what's behind it. Whether it's a commemorative stamp, it becomes rare because Queen Elizabeth II dies, or she's got her Platinum Jubilee. You think about all the different things, and each one can have greater value than the original. That's exactly the space we want to be in, and we can deliver because we have that utility. That will not happen. It can't happen with blockchain as the world we know it today. We can even create, get a load of this, all those people that are stuck with their Bitcoins and Ethereum in Europe, because in the next 4 days, if Binance doesn't pull off a miracle and get some big money paid to some European country that's prepared to tick the box, the Greeks don't want it, but there'll be someone there that might take a few bob. Not suggesting it's a bribe, but, there'll be some bureaucrat over there that'll possibly gladly grant the right. You watch it, it'll be Estonia or Lithuania or one of those joints. But if they don't, they're going to be looking for life jackets. And we know how bad that went with the Titanic. Not everybody got a life jacket. Not everybody was in a boat. But Zucoins and SplitChain, everybody can certainly circle back, create tokenization of those very same assets, wrap them around a Bitcoin or an Ethereum. Don't even move it in the chain, and it can flow around the world at 3,000 miles an hour. Not at 5.7 seconds per transactions per second, but hundreds of thousands of transactions per second. And just get that in your heads. Just think about that. Visa, MasterCard have been around forever. Before that, we had bank card. I don't know if anybody even remembers what a bank card was. We don't even see much of Diners Club these days. Amex is still floating out there. They were all the original rails that have been superseded because of the networks created by MasterCard and Visa. And now they're starting to delve into stable coins. I just still don't like the old stable coin. The fact that Tether was banned in Europe is a worry. USDT, $179 billion banned. That's Gonski, run by Justin Sun. Interesting stuff. Nobody can confirm that there's supposed to be dollar for dollar sitting in a tin somewhere. That's a real worry, that stuff, USDC and USDT. But someone could create a truly government-run fund that backs every single transfer of a smart contract Zucoin with one AUD. And if the government had their head on this, that becomes the freebie of the lottery that can take that money and pool it and get rid of and exterminate the $1 trillion debt we've got with the massive borrowings and rising interest rates. But they don't want to think like that. They just want to think like poor old Adrian over there in London, who didn't realise there's a button at the bottom to turn Dr. Zoo off, because Dr. Zoo never forced him to buy anything and never forced him to sell anything. Made your own initiative. So there you go. That's what we're on about today. And I want you to put in your heads the prospects and comparison, which is on the money. If anybody wants to challenge that, show me a stamp that's not worth more than the face value, because you can just go and look it up yourself. There is truckloads that are worth absolute squillions if you get your hands on it. Watermarks, you name it. Especially the limited supply when you go back to the early days. For example, the Kangaroo series, the King George V series, goes on and on and on. And I'll finish with that because an example of increasing the value beyond the face value of a Zucoin, which you'll wake up and see one day, will be all the excitement that people are going to get with the likes of Turstar. They will have a representation in three-dimensional form of an AR horse, and they could be sitting and looking at that horse in real life. They don't have to pay the vet fees. They don't have to pay all of the trainers' fees, but they have got entitlements and rights to certain things as a result of owning a fractionalized Zoo token that represents real horse ownership. Now, on a global scale, that is mind-boggling huge. The industry is worth hundreds of billions of dollars, and it takes you from dealing with people that would want to participate from all the way from Hong Kong through to Kentucky, California, Ascot, Melbourne, Sydney, Queensland, Perth, all around the world. And why? Because it's been tokenized. It's a story. There's a story to be told. There's a picture there. There's an alligator blood. Away we go. Now, any queries on that, people? Let us know. Those that and they know who they are, who've been busy behind the scenes testing Zutopia, don't stop. I know you think it's okay because it's working brilliantly. Do not stop, because we want your comments. You know who you are, and give feedback on little things that can change on the screens, which is to the benefit of all the rest of us. As I said, Dr. Z didn't realise until one of them told him the other day about the Zucoin wallet address is nicely tucked away in the Zutopia section of the settings. Should have realised that, but anyway, that's how it is. We're always here to learn something new, and away we go. Now, if you have got problems, you not happy with anything, well, don't participate. Pretty simple. This is the beautiful part of peer-to-peer decentralisation. No one's forcing anybody to do anything. But just remember, sit on 10 coins like the Mountain Warning stamp. They mightn't be worth millions, but they could be worth millions. Why? Because they can't change the picture. You can't change the rarity, which is what will happen with the tokens and the capacity to send it around the world. So that's absolutely brilliant. Now, probably a couple of questions. I think it's gone out of hand here, but I haven't addressed any today. But let me just pick on to see, we've got something here. Yeah, now, great human. This is important. You've said, I have deleted and reinstalled, but I'm still getting this message. Yes, you need, someone's responded. Yes, you need to download the new one, restore your backup to it, and then delete the old one. That's exactly how you should do it. Make sure, though, if you've got your wallet there, before you've backed it up, as quite rightly as Grateful Chatter has just said, as long as you've got a backup, you won't have a problem. And then you delete the old wallet, install the new one from the links. There's plenty of links on the website on both zucoins.com, zutopia.com. There's even some QR code readers there you can see on myzucoins.org. Robert's kindly put them up on that session as well. So get onto that, and then you can restore, and you will magically see your coins back in action with that backup. You can't go wrong if you back up. And Zucoin Rocket Man, you're quite right. We estimated there was about 200 out of about 14,000 or 15,000 wallets that had this original release that we did on the particular URL. And by doing it this way, it saves an enormous amount of dev time by just following those instructions, because otherwise, there's a lot of data there and all the rest of it that can affect it. If you want to change it, it wasn't worth it. So that's why that's happening. I was one of them as well. Panicked a little bit, but don't you worry. There it was. It was on my USB, and away we went. Now, I think that's about it, people. I think we'll leave it at that on that happy note. We want your heads going to the post office and looking at stamps, and we want your heads opening your wallets and looking well beyond just seeing the number of coins you've got there, plus the current present value, because it's going to be the biggest game changers that it'll be mind blowing, because we have the capacity now, the scope, the scale, and the ability to put it in play. What do you got? Well, I don't want to. There's one here which is a beauty. Nice human. $100 would be fine as far as I'm concerned. The original valuation. I'm happy if that happens in the volume within 12 to 18 months. Look, everything is something that is at the mercy of the world and what happens, but we'll be in box seat. We'd like to think it's a lot better than that in a shorter time frame, because Dr. Zoo's not getting any younger either, and he really does need to be visiting some of the people that are keen on what we're doing around the world and would love to be doing that via a G800 jet and bringing people together actually to sit down in a conventions is a very big thing. We really do want to accelerate the knowledge base between developers, people, merchants, consumers, everybody, even specialists that can talk about the tax, and we'd expect financial advisors to get involved, and all sorts of sectors that are licensed and can talk about these things without giving any financial advice or anything like that, in a gathering that becomes a very big project for the region of Albury-Wodonga. We've got everything here. We've got wineries, we've got snow, we've got water, we've got lakes, we've got all sorts of things that can make this, I might say it, we'd love to think that this region could become Silicon River. You've got Silicon Valley, and then you have in Australia, Silicon River. I said that first. That's the first time I've said that out and about, but Dr. Zoo's always been a big fan over the journey of Warren Buffett and what he did with Omaha and the conventions and the concepts of 50, 100,000 people getting together. That is the model that Dr. Zoo would love to build on, because that brought together not just the companies he invested in, but their products, what they're doing. Massive big fan of Coca-Cola, and that creates an annualized excitement for people, of like-minded people, to get together, and that is the vision that Dr. Zoo wants to see happen. Massive, massive show of strength, because the technology is proving itself. But let's get these last two boxes ticked. Let's get this structure and the free advice we're getting from AUSTRAC. That'll be a big, big thing to get through. We will send that out as soon as we get anything, can assure you. We're all hanging off that one and turn it on. And also the wild card, the last of the submissions of the 23rd of July for the Australian Financial Review Awards, and getting through to stage 2 has already been a big accolade, because it's only about the innovation of the technology that's waiting to launch itself on the world in a big way, because we are super comfortable with what's been achieved, and so should you. If you do a transaction and you see it going through the space like you're seeing, you should be super proud. And it's just the next phase now, which correlates back to what does the rest of the world think of it, and the value and what we can achieve. But utility, I'm going to leave on that note. I'm going to make sure that you have got it firmly entrenched, that every single one of you around the world will think of stamps differently. You'll go beyond the face value. You look at a story, every one of those has a story, and then there's the rarity. And that is the utility that we can maximize, that cannot be achieved. I'm going to say it again. Happy to be challenged. Happy for Satoshi, waiting for his call. Give me a ring. Happy for anybody else that's in the blockchain space to suggest that they can eliminate globally fees and gas fees like an Ethereum and all the rest of it, and bring it on, because we have the firepower in what was designed, going right back to that incredible time in April of 2018. So there you go, people. That's what we wanted to share today. If you don't like things, don't participate. It's very simple. Adrian, we love you. Don't you worry about that. We're looking after you. I'll wake up again tomorrow thinking about you and what I can do, how I can help you. Let me help you. And away we go. But if you've got a problem, there's a button at the bottom. It's called turn it off, unsubscribe, and buzz off. It's pretty simple. Don't listen to Dr. Zoo if you don't want to. That's the message today, with the visual of true globalization and the markets at our beck and call. Languages is not a problem. AI's come out of the blocks. Support staff. We've got a bit of news on the support side of it too. We'll talk about that on Monday. And what I can gladly say is there's no way in hell that Dr. Zoo wants to be associated with any record whatsoever like Elon has just taken the mantle for losing the world's greatest loss of capitalization in the history of mankind of $1 trillion in 5 days. Mind-blowing. Leave that with you, people. enjoy, take care, and let's really get this show on the road. You've stuck with it, stay with it, and we look forward to it.